With the winter season approaching, humans aren't the only ones hoping for a white Christmas. Far in the Arctic tundra of North America, Asia, and Europe, the cousins of our familiar red foxes are nearly prepared for the deep snow and fierce winds that winter has to offer. The Arctic Fox. During the warmer months, the Arctic fox is somewhat unrecognizable. Its dark grey-brown fur allows it to blend into the rocks and grass in order to hunt its prey unnoticed. It stalks its way through the vegetation, hunting many small creatures such as lemmings, voles, ringed seal pups, and seabirds. Its camouflage also disguises it from its own predators, such as golden eagles, Arctic wolves, polar bears, wolverines, red foxes themselves, and grizzly bears. However, in a landscape that changes as dramatically as the tundra does, this advantage can quickly become a major weakness. It's difficult to be sneaky in a snowy environment if a dark coat gives you away from 100 meters. To counteract this change, the Arctic fox has evolved a key survival tactic shared by many animals in such environments: seasonal camouflage. Over the autumn months, it develops a thick winter coat, white in color and incredibly insulating. This coat is 200% thicker than its summer coat, allowing them to be comfortable in an unthinkably cold environment. It traps in layers of warm air, which preserves their body heat in harsh climate. In fact, if you were to look at their white fur under a microscope, you'd discover it contains far more air than their darker coat. Food is all the more scarce in deep winter, making it crucial that they can catch what little there is as easily as possible and can avoid their own predators in the process. Their expert camouflage perfectly disguises them in a monochromatic landscape, dramatically increasing their chances. As the snow begins to melt and spring arrives, the foxes undergo another change. They lose once more their winter attire and shed their white fur to match the grass and the rocks once again. Arctic foxes typically lose their winter coat in and around May and begin regrowing it in September. It can take months for it to fully develop and usually finally stops growing in early December. This whole process is called seasonal molting. The color of their summer coat varies by region and is determined by melanin pigments found in the fur, which are more common in certain areas than others. There are two types of melanin found in Arctic foxes: eumelanin and pheomelanin, and between them they color the coats. Pheomelanin results in red and yellow colors, and eumelanin causes black or brown pigmentation. Because of slightly diverse environments where different populations live, there is variation in the levels of each pigment due to natural selection. The foxes that blend in the most effectively are the ones that catch the most food and evade the most predators, meaning that they survive, and are therefore the ones that live to reproduce and pass down their genes onto their offspring. Aside from the typical white and grey coat, or white morphs as they're known, there is also a genetically distinct colour morph called the blue morph. Blue morphs, while still growing a winter coat, remain dark grey and some would argue blue all year round. Surprisingly, even though the blue allele is dominant to the white allele, the majority, and by that I mean 99% of the Arctic fox population, is the white morph. As with the entire world and everything in it, the Arctic fox is beginning to be affected by climate change. Global warming causes snow to melt earlier, putting a premature end to the winter season. Because of this, these foxes become less and less in sync colour-wise with their surrounding, leaving them more vulnerable and obvious, posing a great threat to an already threatened species in some parts of Europe. It has been suggested that they will adapt and may even lose their winter coat completely. The question is, will they have enough time to do so? The warming of the tundra also allows red fox to creep further north, putting greater pressure on prey and establishing themselves in areas typically dominated by Arctic fox. But despite all this, these marvelous creatures continue to grow in population and are sure to stay around. Merry Christmas.